Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Foran from High School Top 200, and welcome back to the Monday morning meeting. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us even though it's holidays, and I know that not a lot of rugby was on. Just glad that All Blacks won. It's kind of like All Blacks is like always my first team, but thanks again for coming. Herschel from High School Top 200. I am the owner of High School Top 200. Follow me on all the platforms on Facebook as High School Top 200, HS Top 200, on TikTok, and at Real HS Top 200 on Instagram. Also, subscribe to my website, hstop200.com, $5 subscription for all the information for first team rugby around the country, and just whatever you need, it's all there. You know, I do this all myself. I do this for the love. I do this for the exposure of the talent that we have here in New Zealand, and for just to give the boys an opportunity and a chance, and to be seen and to be talked about, sort of like a payback for all the hard work they put into their game and becoming the players that they are. Interesting, over this week I attended a few days of the Chiefs under 18s. I do that most years anyway. I try and attend the Blues and the Chiefs, and if I can get down to Wellington, I mean, I've been down to a Crusader game. I'm planning to go down to the under 18s, Crusaders and Wellington and Hurricanes game in the next holidays, I think it is. So whenever I find out dates, and I'll start planning that and take a drive down with my two assistants that I usually drive down with, and go watch it. And it's always interesting because, like, I think when we look at first team rugby, or when we look at rugby as a whole, ideally most people just play the game because it's fun and they want to play with their mates and all that kind of stuff. But then you get the other ones who are really gunning for these achievements of rep teams. And I'm just one of those guys that, if you're going to play something or do something, you just do your best at it, and you aim for the highest achievement that you can get to. And so for me, whenever I see rep teams being made and rep teams being brought together, I always pay real attention to it, because it does kind of separate the ones who are really working hard and really trying to get there. And there's some hit and misses on some players and stuff like that, because selectors are human. Selectors are have a direction that they want to go in when they're selecting these teams. And so for me, it's what I like to look at is first off the players that are there that I've also noticed, and so just the common guys that we have, and then the players that the franchise or the region team that's there, the ones that they've recognized and that they've brought in that I don't have ranked, and what they kind of see in them, and things like that. Rep trainings and stuff like that are good to I have the saying that I kind of keep to myself, is that rep trainings rep selections and rep camps are to find out who the pussycats are amongst the lions. And everyone at their school is the big dog. Everyone at their school is the main guy, the coolest dude, the toughest guy, whatever. And when you go to rep trials or rep trainings, you soon find out who the real lions are, and who the real guys are that are just about that life and about that commitment to this game, and what guys are there just for sort of the looks at accolades and that kind of stuff. Because one thing you do notice is once you finish all the hellos and once you finish all the what's up to each other's, even before that, you start sort of eyeing each other up. Like, even for me, I guess when I was at high school, I was invited to, like the region teams went down the same. Some guys who are older right now that are listening will probably remember these, but I was invited to Northern Region trials, which were held here at Church College where I went to school, because we had dormitories and all that kind of stuff and cafeteria and all that. So I was invited 2 years in a row. That was 2000 and 2001. And I feel like, and this is my honest truth, like I feel like I was invited based off potential, because I was 6'5", I was 6'4.5", 5. You know, I was like 120 kgs at that time, and pretty mobile and athletic. I was like a basketball player who was playing rugby, and so, you know, I just had like that kind of skill set. When I got to camp, everyone's eyeing each other up, and you know, obviously seeing who the big guys are and all the muscle men and all that kind of stuff. And I quickly found out that, I don't love this game like these fellas love this game. And, you know, and there were guys that were there that were just doing the extras. You know, when we had like spare time, there were guys down on the field running hills and, you know, kicking the ball around, stuff like that, where everybody else went to the basketball gym. Everyone's playing basketball and stuff like that, and everyone went to the swimming pool. There were guys that were in the swimming pool, but there were some that were like doing bombs on the side, and then there were other ones that were swimming laps, and they were doing rehab, and they were doing training in the pool. And then when it came to eating in the cafeteria, there were guys that looked at the food and they pushed some of the stuff to the side, didn't eat their stuff, and I was thinking, far out. I said, yeah, these guys are different. I don't love this. You know, like I didn't love this rugby game like these guys love this rugby game, you know. And if you have a look at the New Zealand secondary schools from 2000, 2001, and you look at schools that were from our region was Bay of Plenty, Waikato counties, Northland and Auckland. That was our region. And if you look at those teams, all those players from those schools, they were all so like John R4 was like one of the guys that was there, and Soane Tukaweo, I think his name was. He was from St. Peter's, and me and him were the same height. We're the same height, same size, but this dude was just muscle, and this dude was so fast, so big. Like he was muscle. I was just like me. I didn't go to gym. I didn't lift weights. I didn't do stuff like that. This guy obviously did, and he played sevens. He was like playing sevens as a 6'5" pro. That was like the biggest difference between me and guys that actually wanted to do it. I was just there to play, smash some bodies, you know, take some hit ups and things like that. Those guys were actually just all about that, and they all became professionals. Obvious, and I didn't. Obvious, because they were different about it, you know. So when you go to these rep trials and rep trainings and, you know, these camps, you can quickly find out who the guys are that want to be there, and that want to be there because they have goals in mind that they want to achieve. And they have goals in mind that not only on the field they're also working on and committing to, but also off the field. And like when you go to these camps, like a big thing that these guys look for is just your attitude, the attitude that you have going into these camps, and the attitude that you have while you're at the camp, and not just on the field. It's not just field stuff. Like some of you guys got to realize that rep rugby or rep selections or pro sports is not just about what you can actually do and your talent. You know, it's your attitude has a lot to do with. A lot of other things have got to do with it, like your attitude, your effort, your your commitment, your being responsible, the responsibilities, preparation, things like that. all of those things are looked at by teams. Like, if you, for example, a guy named Michael Beasley, who was the number 2 pick in the draft with KD, with KD, and he was pure talent, and he was my favorite player coming out of college. 6'10", you can do everything that KD can do and a bit more. And his attitude to being a professional just wasn't the same as everybody else. His thing is that I want to play ball and I want to play basketball. I just want to play the way that I want to play it. And for a guy who has all the Hall of Famer attributes physically and skill wise, couldn't do it because he just didn't want to do it the way that they wanted him to do it. Now you may look at it and go, yeah, cool, that that's what, like, he's a, what do you call it, like, he's a free thinker. I was like, cool. He's also free from a contract right now who he should probably be in the NBA. Like, if you want to live like that, cool, but all these years of training and pursuing just to come to the end and sort of look at it that way, teams just won't want that. Teams just don't want that. Teams want a person who wants to play with the team, who wants to be a part of the team, who doesn't want it just to be about them, and have to remember that the goal in mind is that everyone wins at the end, especially in a team sport. Everyone wins at the end, and a title is what you want at the end. You want a ring at the end. You want to hold up a trophy at the end. All those kind of things. But you want it to be done as a team. If you're not doing it as a team, like, that's an attitude side of it that coaches, selectors, team owners, GMs, they just don't want to deal with. They just don't want that. They can take a little bit of it, but for the most part, there has a point to it where they're just like, go away kind of thing. So, like, when you're going into these camps, just make sure that your attitude is right. Make sure the attitude that you bring with you is one that you can get along with also your teammates as well as the coaches. And I'm not just talking coaches as in the ones that are running, running your team. I'm also talking about, like, the physio staff and the health, and your psychologist is there, the team managers that help you with your jerseys and stuff like that. That's why it's always good that we see and that the All Blacks have set that standard of making sure that their locker room is clean before they leave, and that it's like not immaculate, but they're not messy. They're all sweeping up, they're all picking up tape and rubbish and packets on the ground and bottles, and you see them do it all the time. And now other teams have adapted to doing that too. But that's all an attitude thing, and making sure that you know where you're from and where you're coming from, and the way that you're going to treat others on the way through. I've always thought that, like, I always thought that effort was like one of those things as well that was real important to those that were selecting, for those that are coaches, and for those that are running the camps. Effort is like something like all these things that I'm probably going to mention are not money-based things. They don't have a price to it. They're not out of stock. There's not just a limited amount, and you don't have to pay. Like, effort is all of the stuff is free. Your attitude that you bring is for free, and your effort there for free. And when you say effort, it's effort as in getting hit shields ready, getting balls, listening, and jumping into line, jogging, doing all that extra effort stuff, all that extra stuff to make sure that your guys running the camps are not yelling at you to get into line or to make groups of 3 or to, we need everyone in the pavilion or, things like that. Like, effort is like being aware of your surroundings and then doing the extra little things to make things easier for everybody else. Those are that's also one of those things that I've really noticed by these selectors and these rep coaches, because if you have little brothers and sisters and you're the older son and you're the one that does everything, effort is going to mean a lot to you too, because you can't tell your little sister or your little brother 7 times, hey, just go put that washing away. Like, effort is them just finishing the washing, picking it up and taking it to the rooms. That kind of stuff. Effort in rugby is, hey, let's move to this next one and then you jog. Things like that. Putting in those little extra effort things to, making sure that when you're doing a drill like that, you're the one showing the drill with, along with the coach, that you're listening to what they're saying and participating and doing everything right. All those kind of things matter. I think one thing that guys get annoyed at is like in your teams, it's like this too. And I've talked about it before, where if you're on the first 15 and you're one of the leaders or one of the better players, like, be responsible. Like, take responsibility for things. And even when I'm talking also when you're wrong, take that responsibility even when you're wrong. Like, take it when you're wrong as well. Put your hand up and go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry. I caused us a penalty, I got too hot-headed and I should have done. But then you have those guys that will change the subject and go, yeah, well, if you didn't like this, and then if you just like this, like, well, how about you guys just get to training? I was like, mate, that's not got nothing what we're talking about. Like, those guys that just try and push everybody under the bus just to save themselves, like, those guys get found out really, really quickly. And I'm not saying that those guys don't make it through to these teams. I'm just saying that when you are on the rise and when you're coming up, those things get taken into account. And that's not just responsibility on the field, but also off the field. It's responsibility in your class, responsibility in going to school, responsibility in doing your assignments, responsibility and making sure if you're like a leader of your house, or if you're boarding house leader, like, all those responsibilities that you have to make sure it gets done. And if you don't, and if you're wrong or if something happens, like, you own the responsibility and you take it upon yourself if you are in the wrong. And also, as a leader, if you are able to help or if you're able to forgive, be forgiving and acknowledge the fact that, yeah, everyone makes mistakes. All those things count in these things. And when you're on the field, just like myself, like, when a lot of you may notice that when I turn up while you guys are, when I turn up to games, you guys are like out on the field, or you're not even out on the field yet. Sometimes you guys come out of your changing rooms, getting ready to warm up. This is like 45 minutes before, and I'm already standing there waiting for you guys to come out. And all of that is based on me just listening to what everyone says. I come out because I like to look at people's body language. One thing I hate doing is that I hate seeing guys do is joking and playing around. I hate that kind of stuff, especially when you're warming up. I don't like the ones where you don't have mouth guards, where there's guys that have missed that don't have boots, or they're waiting for someone to bring their boots. One of those responsibility things is like, hey man, be responsible, be prepared. Be prepared. Like, I was in first 15, we all had to clean our boots on the Friday night, knowing that we're going to play on the Saturday. I don't know if you guys still do that stuff, but having clean boots, being proud of the uniform that you're putting on, being responsible in terms of bringing the strapping tape, bringing your lace, bringing extra laces. Back in the days, we used to bring 2 sets of sizes of sprigs, just in case it got a bit muddy, and some of these days it's a bit rainy and you just need longer sprigs. That's what we did. Making sure that we have all those, obviously the extra laces when one breaks, or having all your strapping gear ready, your mouth guard. Sometimes make 2 mouth guards, put both of them in. Mouth guards aren't that expensive anymore. I remember when they used to be like $20 all the time. I've seen some for like $5. I know that that's going to be expensive for some people, but for the most part, it should be alright. And always have like a spare on you that you've already molded and put in. Don't have a spare mouth guard that you haven't molded and you just put in your bag. That's not what I'm saying. Have 2 mouth guards. Have one that you wear all the time. Have one when you forget it, or the ones that you lost on the field. So you always have another one. Because wouldn't you just rather just go run back and get your other one when your ref tell? And I've seen guys get kicked off the field and getting yellow cards because they don't have mouth guards. Like, honestly, that's what stopped you from playing the game, is your mouth guard. And most of you guys know that you lost your mouth guard on a Wednesday, or that you didn't have it after the game on the Saturday, but you didn't say anything till Friday or the next Saturday, or when you're running onto the field and the ref goes, okay, where's all of everyone's mouth guards? And then you don't have one. You talk about coach killer in terms of like playing on the field. Coach killer is when you don't bring a mouth guard and you go, that's what you got, and then you're asking your mates, bro, give us your mouth guard. It's like, gross, bro. Ugh, yuck. It's like, jeepers, bro. Go get a mouth guard. You borrowing your mate's mouth guard? Bro, some guy asked me for my mouth guard. Shut up, bro. Go get your own mouth guard. You gross fella. Are you sharing spit, bro? Being responsible, all those kind of things, like, and taking responsibility and taking the blame if you know that you're wrong, man. Living with some of those consequences is like a good thing. Swallowing your pride and making sure that you're just like, yeah, that was me. I'm sorry, boys. But if you're going to be that guy that just tries to fight everything just so that you don't look like you're wrong, it's like, come on, man. Come on. You know that you're wrong. All your mates know that you're wrong, and no one wants to tell you because, like, bro, he does it all the time. Well, it gets to a point when you get old and you get adult. Once you get adult, all that stuff doesn't matter because they go, oh, cool, well, you're fired. Oh, cool, we're ripping up your contract. Okay, cool. You can have your victory at home that no one could tell you were wrong. I was like, well, you can be at home and do that. Because that's what's going to happen when you get into the real world. That kind of stuff's going to happen. Having that commitment as well, I think, is one of those things too. Like being committed and making sure that when you make a promise or you set a goal, especially like not with a goal, not just a goal with yourself, because I mean, look at me, fat guy, I've made like how many goals in terms of losing weight, just can't happen. But I don't set goals about losing weight with other people because I know my limitations and I know what I lie about or I know what I'm weak at, and I was like, I'm not going to put that on somebody else just because I want to save face. Having, a commitment effort to better the team, and that may be like a drinking one or a bakery one or 5 o'clock runs. Maybe lifting goals, things like that. When you make your commitments and you follow it through and get to it, it's not just like the reward of doing your PB or anything like that. It's also the fact that when these coaches see that you guys have made these commitments and you've made these promises and you've set these goals, that when you achieve it, it goes a long way, because that gets passed on from one coach to another coach too, and like your reputation starts getting bigger and better for a guy that you really want on your team. Remember, all these guys, all these selectors call back coaches. They call up your coaches and they ask for a reference, a character reference on who you are. This is kind of how you prove it. Your coach, like, as much as you may love your coach and he, backs you 100% too, remember, his reputation is on the line too, and he's not going to promise another selector that you are a responsible, great attitude, 100% effort guy if you're really not, because then your coach's reputation is on the line too. I'm so damn sure he's not going to put his reputation on the line to be found out as being a liar, because then that becomes his reputation and then he's not going to get you. So like, all these things are going to be checked up on. Being a good student, responsibility in the classroom, responsibility as a good student, responsibility as a leader in your school, and being an example in the classroom to the younger ones, which is real important. I know a lot of you guys don't think that it's that important, but being a responsibility to year 9s and year 10s and the year 11s that may be in your team as well, have a good reputation, have a good aura, and be approachable to those young guys. Make sure you do the things that that if when you were a young kid, when you were year 9, that they didn't do that to you. Do exactly what you wished the seniors would do for you when you were young and you were nervous and you saw all these big boys. You're like, oh shoot, stay out of his way, all that kind of stuff. Be more approachable. Be more approachable to the young boys. You'll gain a lot of respect like that. You'll gain a lot of respect, a really good reputation, even for, you don't know which ones of these guys are going to succeed in life. You don't know which one of these guys are going to be able to help you out when you need the help. Just because you were good to some boys, just because you said hello. Being a senior in the team in your school, being a leader, one of the best players in the country, and these kids know that you're one of the best players in the country, and that you get to, and you speak to them and you converse with them, it's a big deal to some of these little boys. So try and be that a bit, try and be that. One thing I notice a lot, and I think, I was like this too, we'll be running drills and I would have questions, but I was too scared to ask. I was always too scared to ask. I was always too scared to not just be wrong, but I was too scared to be way off what we were actually doing and what we were actually talking about. And I was too scared that response that they gave, I wouldn't even understand that one either. Now, I never used to do that. I used to do that because I thought that I'd get looked at in a certain way, not just from my peers, but also from the coaches. One of the worst things to do, and you find this out when you're playing football, is that, or when you play American football, is that when you are assigned to do something in American football, if you don't do it, your whole play could just blow up. Now it's more noticeable in American football. In rugby, not so much. Like, I guess if you study the game, you can see it, but just from casual watchers, you can't. But American football, you can. But if you don't ask the questions because you're too scared, you can cost your team big plays in rugby because you weren't supposed to be in the spot you were supposed to be in. Now, yeah, it's scary. Of course it's scary. It's scary to ask a question that you don't know but you think everybody else knows. Guaranteed, half of the guys that are there also want to ask the same question, so you might as well just ask it. What it also does is that it helps the trainers and the coaches and selectors know that, oh, he's not too proud to say when he doesn't know when something's not working or when something's not right or when he doesn't know anything. Like he's able to at least express himself and be honest and upfront instead of just goes into the game, misses an assignment, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you should have been there because we could have scored off this. And then you having to go, oh yeah, sorry bro, I forgot, yeah, I did, all that kind of stuff that happens. So when you're at these things, ask questions, and not just ask questions just to ask a question, but when you have a question on your mind, or you don't understand a drill, or you don't understand the purpose of the drill, or what you're supposed to accomplish with this, you can ask the question. And you can put your hand up and stop it so that they know that, oh, you really want to learn. Or else you're just going to be one of these yes guy, and heaps of us Islanders and Māoris like that. We just stand and go, yeah, bro, no, yeah, got it. And then we ask, cuz, what do you say, bro? Bro, what does he mean? And you have these little whispering conversations on the side. And coaches can see that you're doing that. They're not idiots. They're not saying, oh, yeah, they all understand. It's like, no, they see you whispering to the guy, asking exactly what you just claimed to know. So you might as well just do it. You might as well just hit, just get through with it and go, hey, like, sir, I don't know what's going on. Why are we running this line? Why is this important? Who am I getting this from? Where am I going to? Are we cutting? Is this a drop back? Are we slipping through? Like things like that. You've got to ask these questions. And one thing, guys. One thing, guys, coaches and stuff really like is that when everything is finished and you're not quite sure on something else, that you go to them after you've done the drill and you ask for extra help. No trainer's going to say, oh, sorry, we just did it. If you missed out, then you missed out. No trainer or coach is ever going to do that. They want to know how much they can help you out, how much more that you need. If you go to them with questions after, then they can straight away go, oh, cool, this is, Herschel wants to know. Hersch knows that he needs this. He's not quite sure on this, cool, we can just help him out. Then you'll be able to get one of these one-on-one conversations. Things like that. And I remember doing that one time to Wayne Smith at a Hamilton boys game against Napier boys, and I was on the side early like I was. He happened to see me on the sideline and just chit-chatted with him a bit, and then I ran a theory that I had past him. This was maybe like 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. But even I asked, I said, bro, can you hear my theory? Can you poke holes in it and tell me where I'm wrong? And I gave him my theory on something, and he listened to it, and all he said is like, you never know unless you get it done, or like you try it or put it into motion. Now, I could have just not said anything. I could have just had small talk, which I hate. I hate small talk. But I thought, well, if I got this opportunity and I want to know something and I want to learn from these things, I might as well ask the question. I like going to rep trainings. I actually like going to any trainings. Like, I would come to anybody's training just to listen to coaches coach, just to listen to different philosophies, just to listen to different tactics and strategies and systems that people want, because I like to learn about this kind of stuff. But when I don't know something, I'm always going to ask. And people may take it different ways. Like, my own family takes me a different way with that kind of stuff. They think I'm trying to rile things up. I was like, no, if I don't understand, I'm going to keep asking you the question. If I don't understand something, I'm going to keep asking. Not just to try and pick at you, but just go, oh, so I understand where you're coming from. But if you don't ask the questions when you're at these, especially at these camps where you got some of the top coaches in the country, and they're right there to answer your question, or right there to help you with your technique, or right there to shed some light on something that you've wondered about, why wouldn't you do it? Because you don't know when the next opportunity you have to do that stuff. Sometimes, and this is a good thing, is that sometimes or most times, those coaches and stuff remember that person. They remember you asking, they remember giving you that help, and it could help down the line too. It could help in your under 20s years. It could help in your in your under 19 years. It could help in your development deals that you have, and when you start getting shopped around to NPCs, like you may see these coaches that you've talked to, and then they remember you, and then they bring you in. Like all these kind of things are avenues to other opportunities that you may get down the road. But all in all, you do get the extra knowledge if you ask to just open up your mouth and ask the question. And I'm talking to you Islanders and Maldives. Just be more vocal, be more open, and be more vulnerable to getting something wrong. Like, who cares if you get a question wrong? Like, who cares if you're the one to answer? And like, I was listening to some of these Chiefs players, these Chief under 18s, and there were guys that were just asking questions or just trying to answer questions, even if they got it wrong. It's like, yeah, who cares? They just like got it wrong. They got the question answered right by one of the other coaches, and I was like, yeah, he didn't turn into flames. He wasn't told to get out of the camp because you said something wrong. It was like, no, you just carry on. I think one thing I liked about this one was that I think the volunteer thing is one that I think is kind of underrated. Volunteering to, jogging from one, from one workout to another workout, to all these different kind of, all these different stages and workouts that they have set up. Jogging, showing your effort, volunteer for things, volunteer to show, volunteer to help with the bags, all those kinds of things shows a lot of character with heaps of these players that come through. And like even when I watch some of these under 18 boys and watch how they were, and I was actually really really proud that a lot of them actually stepped up and did these kind of things. A lot of them were vocal too. It's good that you're vocal, not like vocal like, trying to trash somebody, but vocal of like being open to communicate and open to learn off each other, and, to sort of double check a call, double check a motion, things like, all those kind of things. And having that sort of confidence to back yourself that, when you're running through these drills, you know that you should be there. You know that you deserve to be there. You know that you got that spot because of the hard work that you've been putting in. It's only best that you just increase it while you're there. Like that you increase it while you have that moment too, in the company that you have, that's around you, like the best players in this region. The best under 18 players in this region, Coming towards the end of the season, I was having a look at my rankings of the top 25, Tauranga College, Nelson, Hamilton, St. Kittigan's, and then I have Palmy Boys. I mean, you could have Palmy, you could have Hastings, you could have Fielding, you could have St. Peter's. I mean, I like St. Peter's a lot. I like Auckland Grammar a lot. You know, Kings and Kelston are really good too. But I was thinking about like how, and I've talked about this before, but how do we get to where we get a real number one? At the end of the year when we have nationals, you just fight for your region and then that's kind of it, you know? Now, I'm sorry if I'm regurgitating this message because those that have followed me for some years have been listening. I've talked about this before. But they need to figure out something different. I've already proposed mine. And I've already proposed why I think it should be done the way that I think it should be done. By using my rankings, by getting this mixture and interweaving of schools and cultures that you'll be able to play schools that you've never ever thought you would ever play before. Now, for example, right, like if the top 64 teams in the country came together and they all played off, we would get like the most accurate that we could get in terms of a top four. You know, because I believe that we should take my top 64 rankings and then start matching them up, you know, one by one. Meaning that first games, right? You put them into pools based on your rankings, sort of how they do with college hoops. But if Tauranga was to play, if Tauranga coming out at number one, Tauranga's first game would be against Hibs, who is ranked 64th right now in my rankings. Now, Tauranga and Hibs have probably never played before. Maybe in cricket, because I know Hibs is good at cricket. Maybe in cricket, but in rugby you'd never. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but it's probably never happened. But it would give Hibs a chance to have a go at the number one team in the country. They may not be as confident, but at least you know in that first game and first interactions, like, this is nationals. No, we're part of nationals now. Like, when you go through like these national ranking grading teams and, you know, ranking teams and stuff like you kind of just do it like mid-year or sometimes when you have space throughout the year. But if there was like a time, like a set time for national ranking, like the national top 4 rugby games, like let's say at the end of August, that follows through to like, you know, September and October. And if you just had this set dates for it, Hibs will feel part of the national top 4. Now you'll get Hibs play Tauranga Boys. You'll get Mahurangi play Nelson College, which would probably never happen. Hamilton Boys will then play Maclean's College from Auckland. Probably another matchup you'll never see. Howick will get to play St. Kennigan's, which is down the road, but they'd probably never played before. Maybe like years ago. Actually, no, not even years ago. But I don't even imagine St. Kennigan's using Howick for a warm-up game. You know, Palmy Boys will then go on to play Paraparaumu, which is also kind of an hour down the road, but they would never play. But when you have this posted up, when you have it advertised, and when you have it either live streamed on TV, you could actually call it a top 4 game, like a nationals game, a first 15 national game, and they could be a part of it in that first week. Now, once you start cutting it down, one game at a time, round robin, there's going to be some upsets. 100% there's going to be some upsets. Even in the first round, there's going to be some upsets. In basketball, there's always upsets in the first round, where guys that are ranked in the top 10, top 15 will lose to a team who are like in the 50s and 40s. And like I've said this before, it's like sometimes the matchups aren't based on where you're ranked in terms of winning and losing, because sometimes a team matches up better with another team who may be ranked higher. And I mean, position-wise, you are just better when you're playing a certain type of team. Your team fits that kind of scheme, and you're able to play against them, even if they're ranked way higher than you. And upsets are going to happen. It happens in basketball all the time. And it will happen in first 15 rugby too. First 15 rugby is so unpredictable because you could have a ball your week, and I'm saying this all the time. If you play on a ball week, you're most likely to lose. You better hope that other team has a ball this week too, because then you'll both be playing trash, because everyone's trying to worry about their shoes, picking up their shoes after the game, hopefully that their missus that they had a fight with is still going to go with them, that you guys are in sync together, or that your ex that you just broke up, you're going to see her at the ball, so she's coming off some other guy, all these kind of things. You don't want to get hurt, you don't want to get your face hit because you want to take photos after it. Things like that happens all the time. And so like these are so unpredictable that when you have these national first 15 national games, just because you're ranked higher doesn't mean that you're always going to win. You still have to play the game. You still have to play those games. Now, what's unfair is that watching Tauranga and Hamilton boys the other week, that was like a top 4 national final. But they'll never be able to meet in the finals. They'll never be able to meet in the finals because they're from the same region. But that's not a clearer indication of where this game ranks. It's not a clear indication that that's a proper top 4, or those are the teams that should be there. Auckland go through it all the time. They could have 3 of the top teams in the country, but only one of them is going to make it through to the top 4. But that's not a clear indication of like what a true top 4 is. Because like most people that don't follow first 15 rugby just go, oh, who's in the top 4? And they go, oh, it's this school, this school, this school, and this school, this school. And you go, oh, they must be the best 4 in New Zealand. And everyone's like, yeah. It's like, no, it's not. You're just the best one that come out of your region. There's been a year where Scots and Silverstream should have made it. There's been a year where Hastings and Napier should have made it through to the finals. Back in the days, it was like when Christchurch was winning everything. Christchurch and Nelson College should have been in it, or St. Bede's and Christchurch boys should have been in it. There's times where Otago boys and Christchurch boys both should have been in the finals, but it's never going to happen because you're from the same region. It's never going to happen that way. But I mean, there's got to be a way that you got to fix it up. And the reason why I like my way of doing it is because it gets smaller teams to play bigger teams. It gets a lot more excitement. It gives those that are in the smaller teams an actual shot to be in a first 15 national championship game. Because you can go, yeah, we're ranked. You just need to make it into the top 64 teams, and if you finish the rankings there and you finish in there, okay, cool. Now I know that I'm going to be playing probably the top team because we made it 64th. We made it 64th. Which Hibs right now, if that was the case, Hibs will go, and if National started next week, Hibs will go, okay, we've got to play Tauranga boys. Go to YouTube to start watching their games. Nelson would be the same, Now someone will have to go, okay, we got Mahurangi College, we know that we're better than them, but let's just try and find some games so that we could just make sure. Mahurangi will probably be doing the same. McLean's will be doing the same. Parapara will be the same. Like Pakuranga, who I went and saw, a few weeks ago, like have them play Fielding or Hastings. Like, and then have them go to school and go, no, we're actually playing in the national top 24, top 64. Like, we're actually a part of this. This is this week where everybody else is playing the same week. We're all trying to play to get into it. Like, I think the hype of it would be a lot better for those smaller communities. Imagine Fielding holding something like Fielding is such a massive rugby school and a rugby program that whole town's going to come out to it if they get to see their school play in the national championship, and then they get to do it week after week until they reach the finals. Like even when you have like a team like I would personally like to watch Rosmini and someone like John McGlashan play. Having those two teams that would never ever come together have a game against each other. I think that's real interesting. I would like to see Christ College and Gisborne boys have a go at each other. Like even Dilworth to play Lindisfarne, I would like to watch. I would like to also watch Dilworth play Marlborough boys, because those two teams kind of match up pretty well. You know, there's so many teams, like if Shirley boys ever played Liston College, that's nothing that you've ever really seen before. But if you make it all a weekend or like a month, like just of those, all these national teams going against each other all in the same week, having the same common cause, and then you slowly watch it go down until you get your actual top four. No, I know what everyone's saying, because like, oh, logistically and money-wise and blah, 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 whatever. New Zealand's losing out when it comes to rugby and being popular and being, like, there's no... Have you ever looked at Craven's Week over in South Africa, which is coming up soon? And you can watch it on YouTube too. Go have a look at Craven's Week in South Africa. That stuff is massive. We are terrible rugby fans compared to what they are. Because they have these moments, they have these things that are traditionally strong. That's why I was pissed off that Roland Mills chucked it in. Because traditionally, that was New Zealand tradition. Roland Mills. My dad was up for Roland Mills. My nephew almost made Roland Mills. They cut it off the year that he was about to play Roland Mills for King Country. But New Zealand rugby just didn't want to go through with it. We have no traditional things. This should be traditional. This should be traditional. This should be peaks in people's lives. And like, this really is. Like, let's say, for example, let's say a team like Timaru Boys High School made it all the way to the top four. Timaru is an on and off team year after year. You have one good year, one bad year, one good year, one bad year. And not bad year like they're terrible, but bad year where they kind of have to rebuild a little bit more. But let's say Timaru Boys made it to the top four and they ended up playing someone like Hamilton Boys, or they had to play someone like Silverstream, or they had to play someone like Hastings or Grammar or Tauranga. Like that would, like, story-wise and historic-wise, like just like what Westlake have just done and what John McGlashan have just done, and even Southland Boys, like those are like great moments. But if you can do it on a scale where you can go, oh no, we made it through all the teams that we were supposed to play, all the teams from all over the country that were nationally ranked, we went through all of them. we didn't just win our region. No, because we beat 3 teams from the North Island to get there. We didn't just beat the guys that we play around here all the time. And no, we beat 3 North Island teams to get there, or 4 North Island teams to get to a top 4. That to me is like stronger conviction, legitimizes everything as well in terms of like your story to tell when you're older. But we need something here in New Zealand to make these things and put things into context and make it a legitimate national championship tournament. And I think that way would be better. And I'm not talking about how money's going to go. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm not talking about that at all. But when you got a community that jumps behind your first 15, knowing that you say they could help you out. Communities come together like that. Anyways, that's me for now. Thanks for listening. Back to rugby for the next week and whatever. Love you all. Later, ball.